So my name is Sebastian Stride. I'm an archaeologist, a member of Group G4, and I'm also a specialist on higher education and research, and as such one of the founding partners of Cirrus Academic. So I represent Group G4, working on a case study in Central Asia, and at the same time I'm also working on international relations for the project as a whole. Group G4 has a case study on Central Asia, and we're studying oasis and more precisely the interaction of nomadic and sedentary populations in an oasis environment. Listen, at the moment I'm also working in France, and the French government has just invested 22 billion euros in higher education and research. In a moment of crisis, it's the moment when governments need to investigate in research and higher education, because research and higher education is the future of the country, and it's the way in which the country will be able to come out of the crisis. I think SimulPast is helping break down barriers between disciplinary fields, of course, but also break down barriers between institutions and indeed between countries. Look how many nationalities are working in this project. As such, we are helping redefine the way we analyze human societies, applying tools developed to study storms or trains or ants to ourselves. And this is, and I'm sure of this, the future of research in humanities and social sciences. The key to the success of the project will be to find a common language between specialists from different disciplinary fields. I think that the future of research lies in a pluridisciplinary approach. For many years now, we've gone deeper and deeper into our specialities. But if we can't communicate between ourselves, then research is not able to advance. Computer scientists understand the complexity of the world far better than anyone from humanities and social sciences. They are specialists of complexity. The problem they have is maybe understanding the social implications of their research, the way human societies work. Computer scientists are specialists of complexity, so of course they understand the difficulty of investigating humanities or social sciences. What they might have more difficulty in understanding is the implications, the social implications of the research that they do, that we do. What I mean by that is that investigating human societies cannot be neutral. It is dependent on context, on our own society, and in turn it influences our society, often very strongly, much more than what scholars sometimes think. Today, to give you an example, we speak of collaboration, of interactions between man and the environment, indeed of environmental conscience in the past. This is at the core of SimulPast. Why are these questions at the core of the project SimulPast? Because they are fashionable in our society today. And the answers which we are trying to give when we study the societies of the past are answers that we hope will have an influence on our own society. Scientists elaborate theories which can be tested and proven wrong. They do not define truth. They propose testable hypotheses. Think, for example, of the experiment which has just been done recently and which was in the news, in which neutrinos have been recorded as going faster than the speed of light. Maybe Einstein's theory will need revising, completing. Maybe he was partly wrong, but I am sure he would have been the first to have been fascinated by this discovery. Scientists search for the truth, but they do not claim that it is possible to find it. In the humanities, we must learn from this. However, what we do know is that what we say sometimes has a great impact on our society. The speed of light is not going to influence the next election. A study on the way two different populations interact may well, on the other hand, end up being used to argue in favour or against the immigration policies of a particular state. Well, this will be the hardest thing of them all. The first thing is to understand each other, and this is a big effort for specialists in computer science to understand how specialists in the humanities work, and for specialists in the humanities to understand how specialists in computer sciences work. And we must both make this effort. Read what they are doing, understand, talk, have cups of tea and also beers with them. And I think that little by little, we'll begin to see the advantages of working together. I think that the project is a starting point. It's not the only one which is working on these topics around the world, but it is at the cutting edge of research in these domains. And I think that these lines of research are going to become ever more important as time goes on. Think back to the 1950s, when the first models of the weather were being created. Since then, meteorologists have been working, doing research, refining their knowledge of the domain, and no one would dream of doing research in meteorology without modelling and simulation. And I think the same is going to be true of humanities and social sciences. I think we're in the 1950s for our domains, but I think this is the beginning of a great change. Yes, of course it will have a future. I'd even say that it is the future of archaeology and history and humanities. I think that in 10 years' time it will be unthinkable to do research in these domains without relying on modelling, simulation and other associated techniques. As I was saying before, it's very difficult to simulate the weather, the way clouds and winds interact, when it will rain, when it will be sunny. Yet no one today would think of watching the swallows fly past so as to be able to know the weather that it will be tomorrow or the next day. Of course it's difficult to simulate, to model human societies. We'll never manage to do it completely. But I think that, like in the case of modelling in hard sciences and formal sciences, it is the best way to at least help us progress in the search for truth, in the search for answers. Oh, I'd say that we don't have any real answers to any of the major questions which concern human societies. We don't know how our societies function. I think we're at the beginning of a new period in research. We're starting to apply tools which will enable us, hopefully, to reach some answers or some partial answers as time progresses. I think that one of the key impacts of the project will be on higher education in the humanities. Currently, it is a disaster. I've had students asking me what the point was of following courses, undergraduate courses. They have access to information on the internet. They do not need to go to class, and they are right. Classes which just provide contents should be eliminated from university curricula. In the digital era, they serve no purpose. What students need is to learn how to think and what tools to use. And for this, SimulPast, projects such as SimulPast are ideal. We are using cutting-edge methods and techniques from the formal sciences and applying them to the humanities, to social sciences, to understanding how our societies work. A well-designed master course around a topic such as SimulPast would, I am sure, be much more interesting, much more valuable for students than many of the undergraduate courses currently offered by universities. Because the student who would follow it would be truly qualified to analyze and interpret their environment. And this is what companies need today. And this is how jobs can be created for students who have a speciality in the humanities and social sciences.